As far as the Vikings, this is going to be a very wild offseason because right now, and specifically for the Vikings draft needs, this is going to be wild because right now, Kirk Cousins is not under contract. So a lot of it is up in the air. I know he's probably going to be back. They'll probably sign him to a
He's shirtless somewhere right now.
Dude, I know that people, they're really leaning into this, embracing Kirk Cousins, and I love it. I'm sorry, but I've watched this guy for the last 3 or 4 years, like not playing like himself. Yeah, and yeah, like a lot of hate. And now that he's like coming into himself as being like the awkward dad and doing all this different stuff, like I kind of like it. Like the Vikings have really looked for that guy that could be the leader in the locker room, and I think over the last couple of seasons we've seen it for the Vikings. And so when he went down, you could just see in players' attitudes and how everything was going. Like they did kind of lose faith, I think, a little bit. And I think that's kind of what ultimately led to things going down. So as far as the top 5 Vikings draft needs right now this is not in order necessarily of
it's gotta be defense, right?
I think so. I think you still need to. You're going to re-sign Kirk Cousins. I think that's the number one thing. Is you re-sign Kirk Cousins to. I think he's going to do kind of a team-friendly deal. I do.
A vet minimum.
Geez, I don't know about that. I don't think he'll do that. I think he's still going to.
He's not that nice.
He's not that nice of a guy. I think he'll go in that two year, $30 to $45 million deal, a year deal. I think he'll do $30 million a year.
That would be rough. I'm looking at this latest mock draft, and they got you taking Penix.
Yeah, Penix is to the Vikings has been kind of a.
Penix is horrible.
I don't think so. I like Penix. I think so.
I take Jaden Daniels over Penix.
I take Jaden Daniels. I take Penix. I'd take anybody over Nick Mullins at this point. And that's nothing against Nick Mullins. It's just he's a good backup, but it's been frustrating this year. So I think you re-sign Kirk Cousins. I think you pay Justin Jefferson, for the love of God. You make it rain on this man because
you don't need him, Minnesota. You don't need him.
You have been on this train of. Please go to the Patriots or any other team. Stop it. Yeah, our happiness with a number 1 wide receiver. See, your lack of drafting a good wide receiver has gotten to you, my friend.
All right.
Yeah, just kidding. But I think we got to go. Number 1, I still think that you got to draft a quarterback. I'm going to go number 1 need is quarterback because Kirk Cousins. Let's say he does come back. You have to plan for the future. What's going on?
I had to check my phone because
you didn't want to show 7. Up there. Yeah,
it's almost 7. No, I don't care if it shows up there. It just switched it.
7. Do you need to take off?
Oh no, we're good, man. Let's keep going. Okay. Let's find. Let's just.
We'll quick.
I think the draft needs are pretty.
Yeah. I can do a Vikings draft needs later.
No, let's just do it.
Okay.
Because I think you need an edge rusher.
Yeah.
I think you need.
So I think it's quarterback, edge rusher because Danielle Hunter right now. I think you have to re-sign Danielle Hunter as well. He had a really good season, but he's also missing like any good defense in the NFL. You've got multiple guys that can rush the quarterback, and you lost.
Instead of Penix, I would take Kool-Aid. That's just me.
Kool-Aid's fun. He's a lot of fun. I love the name
a lot
too.
of juices.
Yeah, and it's like so. I think you bring back Danielle Hunter. I think that you need a number 2 to him. Or at least another guy because you lost DJ Wanham to injury, and then Patrick Jones stepped in and he wasn't quite the same juice. And so if you don't bring back DJ Wanham, I think you go edge rusher because there's some good ones in this draft that I think, Latu, I think if he's healthy, he's been a draft crush of mine this entire process. You might be able to get him in the later rounds. I don't know. It just really does depend on how things go out. So after that, number 3 is corner because I do think that it does come down to you got to be able to you have to have a quarterback. You got to be able to rush the passer, and you got to be able to defend. So I think you got to get a corner because Byron Murphy Jr. was okay. We saw some good things at times from the rest of these corners, but even Mekhi Bellackman and all that stuff. So even Caleb Evans looked okay at times, but I still think you need to go corner. 4, you really need to upgrade this defensive line room. Like it was so frustrating watching the Packers just completely obliterate our defensive tackles. And don't get me wrong, Harrison Phillips is okay. He's done some good things here and there, but he is not a true nose tackle. And Kyrus Tonga, he didn't necessarily take a step back.
That is a very big man to just say he's okay.
Yes.
Hopefully you're not at the Mall of America one day. And
yeah, he just levels me. Here's the thing. He's not a 0 tech. He's a great 5 tech. Great 5 tech. I think that, or if he wants to play in a 4-eye, fine. But if you play him head up over a tackle, good luck. Because I think he would be a guy that, would probably be one of the better run defenders and a really good pass rusher if he was playing at a 5
He reminds me a lot of Barmore.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think he's athletic. I think he does some really good things, but it's not even a knock on him. It's the fact that like it's so hard. You need a literal 350-pound man in the middle if you're going to be a defensive tackle, like a zero tech over the center. You need a man. You need a Vince Wilfork right in the middle because you're getting double teamed, sometimes triple teamed in the middle every single time.
Yeah.
So you need somebody in there.
There's a lot of zone blocking schemes going on in the NFL.
So
and I didn't really realize that until I really watched it this year. There's a lot, and like you just said, you could potentially have 3 guys on you, and that's just how it works.
Yeah. And it's like, you have to be able to stand up against it too. And so I think at that 4 spot, you got to go defensive tackle, or maybe you put defensive tackle over corner at this current moment in time. And then after that, I need to see this O-line get better. Like finally, interior offensive line, like we need some guard depth badly because we saw what happened when who was it? Ed Ingram went out. We saw what happened when a couple of these guys went down. And I'm also not sold on Ed Ingram being the guy. Dalton Reisner needs to stay. Garrett Bradbury, I mean, I know he just signed a deal last year, but I need another big year from him. Christian Darrisaw he was good for most of the year, then he fell off, and maybe that's more of a Kirk Cousins, like the leadership aspect of it. But this offensive line needs to finally get shored up. I have been losing it this entire time, even though it's one of the top graded units according to PFF. Stop it. Stop it. Nick Mullins, the Pasternak, all these guys were pressured all season long.
Dobbs was bad.
Yeah. And it was just like, no, we need to shore up this offensive line. So I think it goes quarterback, edge rusher, corner, D tackle, and offensive line.